Hey, welcome back to Mike's Diabetes World. So often I show you my blood sugars on a neat and nifty screen, and it all looks great. It all looks wonderful. How CGM knowing what your blood sugars are all the time. But is it that great? All the time? We're going to discuss that today. But let's go on and do blood sugars. Current blood sugar 7.1. Sorry, we showed that last time. We are currently calibrated. We got the pig I had one correction. So, I don't know. Maybe we'll get another. But right now, don't necessarily have one. Time and range, same as the last video. 97% time and range, 3% above, 97 below, 100 there, so that means 0. Average blood sugar is down again. All those days I was up and gained like 27%. Now we're looking good. I think my body is finally liking the pump. But I had a pump already set up going well with me. Now this pump is doing exactly what it's meant to do. So we'll be right back to tell you the cons. I think I've talked about this, but maybe do another video on the pros of CGM. But let's take a look at the cons. This channel is provided for informational purposes only. Contact your physician for any diagnostic or treatment plan. Okay, the cons of CGM. Well, it's nice to have everything at your fingertips. There is work that has to be done to get to this number. First of all, you're going to have to invest in some sort of sensor. Your pump doesn't automatically do this. It's another cost. Period. Finances have stopped you. Oops. You can see me. It's not great. So let's just get Mr. Light going. There we go, that's a bit better. But if cost is prohibitive, in BC, I was lucky enough to get sensors covered. And I believe that you can get sensors covered now in BC by special authority. Your diabetes doctor has to prove to the province that you need them. You don't have to go the big roundabout route that I have to go with them, but they can be done. Next, you have to wear another device. If you're on a Dexcom, for example, you have to have another receiver close by. So even Omnipod, I believe the new Omnipod is integrated, but you have your sight, and then you have your sensor put in. Now, when I first saw that this was something that was coming down the pike, I thought, oh, I'll never like that. Oh, it's going to be weird having something else there. It's amazing. You do get used to it. However, it could be a con to some people. They're easy to get knocked off. If you rub up against a wall or anything, they can get pulled out and they'll stop recording blood sugars. But that's also true of your sites, whether you're Omnipod, a T-Slim, a Medtronic pump, or MiniMed, I believe. They could all fall out. Amazing. While you think, oh, well, yes, if I have the CGM pump, I could just look at the number and I'll know what to do. Sometimes this number isn't great. Now, the next point is something that I know Dexcom and Medtronic are working on, and that is getting sensors that don't require that much calibration. But right now, on most of the time, you have to calibrate. And that means doing a blood test the old-fashioned way with a finger poke and taking a blood test. You have to make sure that you're doing your blood test correctly, because if you don't control your calibration off completely, the numbers aren't going to work. It'll be a big pain. Sometimes when you're lying on your CGM, it will send messages saying updating, and you'll get 3 little lines. And, oh God. And when you go to check, you'll get a big chunk on the graph here. Do we still have any time? No, didn't work yesterday. Where part of this white line will be disappeared. You could get high alarms, low alarms. If your sensor is not calibrated correctly, this could say high blood sugar when you're actually normal, or low when you're higher. So it's important that you keep your sensors up to date. Now, with the Medtronic, which I use, there is a 7-day turnaround. You're going to have to insert a new sensor. It is easy to do, I will say that. But it's not sort of thing where you put it in and that is great. There are companies out there that are developing, I believe it's a 3-month permanent sensor. But again, you'll have to make a doctor's appointment to get it changed. So there's always negative to any sort of pump and sensors. And so while it's great, and the reason why I did the negatives first were that you have to go into this with open eyes. While the sensor did an awful lot for me, if you get the sensors, you have to utilize the sensors. They do no good sitting in a box. You need to ensure that your sensors are being used. To get the best use, you should do them constantly. I know when I got my first pump that had sensor capabilities, I put it on one and I'd go for a week and then okay. And I'd use them sparingly because I didn't have coverage. But I was able to get coverage, and now I make sure I have one going all the time. Doesn't mean I miss out. Sensors maybe will help you in saying whether you're going high or low, but this number may not always be spot on. And some people get really upset with that. Well, the reason for that is that it's reading two different sources. Your finger pokes, that's reading blood sugar. And again, that number could be different from a blood test, because they're all dealing with sensors, and that's why every so often we check between the two. If you want to, your lab or your doctor will have that test for you. Sensors read what's called cellular sugar. And that usually follows behind your actual blood sugar. So when you do a test, it's going to look different. If you start going super high, you're not going to be as accurate, and vice versa. When you're super low, you're not going to be super active. The whole point is that you're going to see the graph and see, are you dropping? Are you climbing? That's the main part. So they could not give you totally correct blood sugars. They could be off a bit from what your finger pokes say. They're not going to be accurate. They could stop working if you're lying on them funny, or they cost. And that could turn an awful lot of people off. They have to be utilized. If you're looking at CGM, just to have all the new bells and whistles, CGM may not be for you, but if you are having trouble taking getting control of your diabetes and wanting to know what your blood sugar is or in range, this is a tool for you. If you just want that tight control, this is a tool for you. Type 1 diabetes is difficult. Yes, it may be great to have access to the sensors, but if you're not going to utilize them, you're tying up stock which could go to someone else. There's no big shortage, as far as I know, but utilizing the sensors is something you really have to do. If you have them, use them. See where you're at. The pump will not allow them to go longer than 7 days, or the Medtronic one. Dexcom, I believe, is 10. It's not a lifelong thing. You have to carry an extra sensor. You may have to touch your phone to it all the time if you're dealing with Freestyle or that, or touch a receiver to your sensors. Like I said, sensors do so much for me, and they could do a lot for a lot of diabetics. But if you decide you're going to go for a sensor, it's a commitment, and you have to do it. And with that, we're going to call it a day. Have a great day, and we'll talk later. Bye now. My email is mikesdiabetesworld@gmail.com. mikesdiabetesworld@gmail.com.